Hey everyone, I'm in Dallas here with Patrick Bet-David from a two-time market inventor for PHP Agency, People Helping People, as well as Valuetainment. Thank you for joining us.
Definitely, good to be here.
So Patrick, you have a really interesting background, incredible, immigrating from Iran. I was hoping maybe you could kind of share a little bit about your childhood coming to the US and for our audience.
Yeah, so born and raised in Iran, lived there 10 years. The whole war was going on between Iran and Iraq at that time. And I'm a revolution baby. So the Shah was exiled on late January, early February of 79. I was born October 1878. So on the way to the hospital, you know, there was heavy duty curfew. They had to stop my mom and my dad with a semi-automatic weapon. And then they escorted my mom to the hospital. I was born that day. And then, you know, lived in Iran. There's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear. Not a place you wanted to be at that time. There's just a lot of different things. And any given day, I remember one day we got bombed 167 times, just random things that would happen. So yeah, that was the experience living in Iran. Then we escaped to Germany July 15, 6 weeks after Khomeini died. And I lived at a refugee camp in Germany for 2 years, which apparently you've been in Germany several times.
Yeah, I lived there for 3 years in Frankfurt am Main. Where was the refugee camp?
Erlangen. It was right outside of Nuremberg.
Yeah.
So 30 minutes outside of Nuremberg.
Oh, wow. So, and then you know, what an incredible experience. And then you moved to the U.S. Now, did you move to California and with your mother, I guess?
Yeah, so we flew from Germany to Granada Hills, California. I lived in Granada Hills, California for 1 month. And then from Granada Hills, California, moved to Glendale and lived in Glendale for 6 years before joining the Army.
Oh, and so joining the Army. So high school, what made you join the U.S. Army?
What made me join the U.S. Army? I mean, the truth of the story is there's a guy named Jesus Guerra, who was a recruiter, brilliant recruiter, because he kept saying, he says, look, he would come to us, you know, we were all these young cats, and he would say, you know, you have no idea what'll happen when you put your uniform on.
Right.
He says, when you put your uniform on, you officially become a girl. And I said, why is that? He says, because you're used to flirting with girls, you know, but when you put your uniform on, you're gonna have all the ladies flirting with you. So that was a pretty good marketing concept. He started following up with me since 14 years old.
Wow.
Think about it.
Wow.
14 years old. And then one day, I'm staying at my sister's place, and I wake up in the morning. They stole my car. I couldn't go to work. I was working at Burger King at that time. And I said, I'm not going to college, because I got 4 W's from Glendale Community College of withdrawals. And then I just called my dad. I said, come pick me up. I don't have a car. I got to go to the recruiting station to join. Didn't tell my mom, didn't tell friends, didn't tell anybody. I went, I signed. 2 weeks later, I was gone.
And you were with 101st Airborne?
101st Airborne Division.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. And you know, and obviously, thank you for the service.
Anytime.
Yeah, that's incredible. So going from that, you get out of the service. When did you get out of the service?
September 99 was when I ETS'd. I got out a couple months prior because I got my citizenship June or July of 99.
Okay.
So that would be the date.
Yeah, and then going from there to financial management, right? So talk about the process that went from Army, leaving Army and moving into, say, PHP Agency.
Yeah, so you know, for me, when I got out of the Army, honestly, I had no idea what I was going to do.
Yeah.
So I was a good Hummer mechanic, so I applied. There was a Hummer dealership in Camarillo, California. So I applied, and it was $14 an hour is what it was.
Okay.
So to me, $14 an hour is a lot of money. You don't make $14 an hour in the Army. So I said, I'm gonna make $14 an hour. I'm a millionaire with this. If I'm gonna make $14 an hour.
Yeah.
And so I called them. I said, you know, I just got out. I was a Hummer mechanic. I'd love to be a mechanic for you. They said, we have one, and that's the only thing we need. We don't need two. We already have one. And then the other place I called, it was too far. I couldn't get a job there because it was 2 hours away. And so, you know, I used to compete bodybuilding back then. My sister worked at Bally, so she introduced me to Bally Total Fitness. I started off with
you used to compete in bodybuilding?
Back in the days,
Back
very
cool.
In the Army, I was a competitor. Yeah, I was gonna be a bodybuilder.
That's awesome.
My entire room in the Army barracks was posters of my favorite bodybuilders, I had a massive poster of John Travolta staying alive with his, bell bottoms. I wore bell bottoms a lot. If those pictures, I'm telling you, man, if Instagram was around back then, I would wear leather pants to nightclubs with bell bottoms. It was a whole different side that no one knows about. So, but I had a lot of John Travolta posters. I had a lot of bodybuilder posters, and then obviously my favorite models, girls that were fitness girls, and my officers used to love coming to my barracks because they had all these nice posters to see, and we had the best alcoholic beverages.
That's good.
Make sure they were hydrated. So, yeah. So from at Bally's, I worked there, and I wasn't good in sales initially, and my boss, Cisco at the time, good guy. He really gets credit in being patient with me at the initial process of helping me with sales. He said, Pat, why don't you go sell gym memberships at the mall? Mm-hmm. And I said, so let me get this straight. I can't sell gym memberships at the gym with all the equipment here. You want me to go sell memberships at the mall? Well, there is no equipment to show. I said, no, I want you to go to the mall. So I go to the mall, Fox Hills Mall. And Fox Hills Mall was right off off the 91? Is it off the 110? It's 110, one of those freeways. So I went to Fox Hills Mall, and day one didn't sell anything, day two didn't sell anything. And so there was a table, and I kept standing behind the table. Everybody would walk behind me, and nobody would talk to me. But day 3, day 4, I stood in front of the table, and I started talking. And then this one girl, she probably gets credit in my sales career continuing. This one girl, I said, hey, where do you work out at? She says, she smiles, she comes. I said, do you have a membership with Bally's? She says, no. I used the worst sales line like you should not be using. She said, honestly, I was there last week. I was about to buy a membership, but it was $100 down, $40 a month. If you can beat that, I'll buy it. I said, I have a corporate rate, $75 down, $30 a month. She bought it right. I called back. I said, I just sold the membership. So then I became Rookie of the Month, and I became Rookie of the Year. I won Triple Crown at the gym we were at. So my sales career went from there.
And selling at the mall, cold selling at the mall when people are not going there that's a good place to learn.
It was great, and it was a 36-month contract. It's not month to month.
Yeah, wow.
So you're not buying. You're buying $1,000 contract is what you're buying.
When you're going to get like maybe some underwear, right?
When you're going to get some underwear, and here's a guy, Middle Eastern guy, 6'4", 6'5", approaching you by buying a membership. So after Bally's, I met a girl at Venice Beach that worked at Morgan Stanley, Dean Witter, and she would always pick me up in nice cars. I said, what do you do? She said, I work at Morgan Stanley. I went and applied at Morgan Stanley. I sent a resume with my cover letter that had the best joke I had at that time, because my resume is extremely disappointing. I wouldn't hire myself. I don't know why the person did anyways, but I sent a resume to 100 different places. Goldman, Merrill, Schwab, TD Waterhouse, everybody. You name them, I sent it to them, and then I got 30 calls. 15 interviews, 3 offers. I started off with Morgan Stanley Dean Witter a day before 9/11. It was a Monday, 9/10 is my first day, 01.
Oh, wow.
That's how I got into the financial industry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so Morgan Stanley to PHP Agency, what made you shift from a safe corporate, quasi-safe corporate financial advisor role to an established advisory service to doing your own thing?
I don't fit well in the structured, organized corporate world. I'm probably a little bit too demanding, because if I'm working somewhere, I kind of want to win. I want to do well, and there's way too much politics, and I want to get recognized based on my performance, so my numbers do the part. But I learned a lot at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. Matter of fact, the guy that interviewed me, Dave Kirby, for 15 years I couldn't find him. I just found him. He lives in Rosemont, I think somewhere around California. I'm going to go visit him. So, I got started with Morgan, and at Morgan Stanley, I learned a lot about the human nature 101, because they did a strong training at Mark Hopkins Hotel in San Francisco for 3 weeks. So you'll learn a lot about people skills, cold calling. Every day I made 250 cold calls. Every single day I was making cold calls. So you had to learn how to break the ice and how to do this. It was a lot of different things that you had to use with cold calling. And then from there, I went with Transamerica, World Financial, who was heavy duty on recruiting.
Okay.
And I saw New York Life was #1 at the time because they were the best recruiters. I saw Northwestern Mutual was at the top because they trained the best sales side. So I said, here's Northwestern Mutual, here's New York Life, the best recruiters at what they're doing. if we combine them together, what could happen? So I started off as a Series 766, 3126 Life and Health, and we combined that on October of 09, and I got rid of certain things we weren't going to do, the concept of blue ocean strategy.
Yep.
And we created certain markets that nobody else was doing at the time, and then from there, we started one office in Northridge, California with 66 agents. Today we're in 49 states, including Puerto Rico. As long as Puerto Rico is still around, after next week here,
Yeah.
we're in Puerto Rico, 4,200 agents in 49 states.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So I like to ask all the market inventors, what was the problem or the insight that said, hey, what I can do is bring more, because it's an established industry and it's in many ways good enough, So in many those are the most ripe for the disruption.
What's the biggest problem with the insurance industry? You're saying that. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Look, when you think about life insurance, do you get excited about it? Absolutely not.
Right.
There's no one that wants to talk to that uncle, that cousin, that friend from high school that calls you like, what movie is that? Is that the movie Groundhog Day, where the guy, every time he sees him, he's trying to sell him life insurance? You can't tell me a movie where the life insurance agent is the hero, right? It's pretty annoying because when someone dies, everybody hopes the life insurance agent kept the policy in place. But I looked at the industry, I said, so first of all, every single time I went to a life insurance conference, I almost committed suicide.
Right.
Literally, it was that boring. It was the people from stage that would talk, they were the cure for insomnia. If you couldn't sleep, they're gonna put you to sleep. There were brilliant doctors in that area. And so I'm telling myself, why is everybody white and why is everybody old in the life insurance industry? Why is that? Why do we not have multiculturals in this industry? They also need insurance, and why do we not have younger people in the marketplace? And our focus became that. It became millennials, Gen X's, as well as multiculturals, and then from there on, it grew into what it is today.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So early on, when you're starting this, what were the early days like? I mean, what was like getting your first customers?
Yeah, so I guess the best way to put it is, the first customer for me isn't like, hey, I sold John a life insurance policy with my first customer, because that's easy. It's not a hard thing to do. You would ask me that question back in the days of me being a salesperson, who my first customer was. It was my girlfriend's mother is who my first customer was. And so, but if you ask me when PHP was my first customer, is the first insurance carrier that allowed us to write their paper.
Right.
Because when an insurance, let's just say you have an agency, I'm an insurance carrier, your distribution, I produce the product for you, right? You want to sell my product. In order for me to allow you to sell my product, I have to advance a lot of money to you, to your agents that are getting paid.
Right.
So there's a risk. The first company that gave us the opportunity was a company called North American, they're out of Chicago. And a guy named Garth Garlock, I believe his name is, and a guy named Steve Palmetier. So one day I'm literally cold calling every single CEO of a life insurance company, all of them.
Wow.
I'm going on every single call, I'm leaving messages. My name is Patrick David, I'm a PHP Agency. We're looking at finding a core partner. I'm just calling. The CEO's not in town. Would you like to speak to somebody else? Finally, North American puts me directly with the CEO.
How many calls do you think you made?
There isn't an insurance company I didn't call. So you pick every single insurance. I called companies I shouldn't have called. I called New York, I called Prudential, I called Met, I called everyone. I just wanted one carrier. And so finally I called this guy, and he put me through, the assistant put me through to Garth, and we spoke. I said, look, I'm in the area, I'd love to come and stop by. I'm not in the area, I'm in LA, in Chicago, but I am in the area, I'm in America.
I will be there.
If I was in Australia, it's not in the area. I said, I'm in the area, I'd love to stop by. He says, why don't we have lunch tomorrow at 12 o'clock? I said, great, I'll be there tomorrow. This is in the afternoon, I'm talking about, say, book an appointment, book a flight, I go to Chicago, and I stay there. And then from there I go, 12 o'clock, meet with him, we sit down. An hour later, he shakes my hand and says, we'll give you a contract. It's the first contract we got, and if it wasn't for North American giving us that contract, there is no PHP today at all.
Wow. So how did you finance that?
So financing, a lot of people ask me about financing. So typically you'll hear stories about angel, venture capital, loan, all this other stuff. The first time I made money, 21 years old, I was a good sales guy, started selling some other products outside of the Valley Total Fitness, and I started making, some real good experiences I had with money. But then I also had very good experiences with nightclubs in Vegas.
Yeah, right.
So I was in Vegas every other weekend. The flight was a 40-minute flight from Burbank, so we'd go and we'd party and we'd come back on a Monday. And so as much as I made, it went out 2x. So the second time I made my money, I was so cheap with myself, not cheap with people. I was not cheap with assistants, with all this, but I was so cheap on things that I did, like my clothes, where I ate, what I ate. I was so cheap about it that I just saved hundreds of thousands of dollars.
That's awesome.
All I did is save. I didn't buy a house. I remember one time I went and looked at a house in Winnetka. It was a beautiful place. That community, I don't know what that community is, Monterey Estates. I went and looked at this house. It was a 7,000 square foot house on 2 acres, and every one of my friends was buying a big house. I went and looked at this. Said, well, you would need to put $300,000 of a down payment. I said, there's no way in the world I care to put $300,000 into this.
Yeah.
Well, you know, if the market goes up and this house is worth $2.5 million, you'll have $1 million of equity. I said, what the hell is $1 million? I have no interest.
Right, and you have to sit on it.
I'm not doing it. So I came back. But by the way, the house was beautiful. It's a community, you know, where, you know, Eddie Murphy lived in. A lot of pretty, Hulk Hogan had a place. It was a pretty, very nice area. I said, no, I'm staying tight. I stayed cash myself. So when it came down to starting PHP, I put my $500,000 in savings into it. I had a meeting with all the agents and I told them the following. I said, let me put it to you this way. I'm not financing this deal. This is all my life savings. If this doesn't work, I'm selling gym memberships at LA Fitness.
Right.
But you don't have to worry about me not being all in. I'm 100% vested. If you want to work with somebody that's 100% vested, it's us. There's a 90% chance we'll go out of business because we're going against big businesses.
Yeah.
But you're going to get 100% effort from me. And so initially started with my own money. Obviously the evolution, we just closed on a deal 2 weeks ago, a 8-figure deal, $10 million plus deal with investors, Oscar De La Hoya, Gabriel Brenner, Atalaya Group, and it's a different story now.
Yeah, that's congratulations. That's awesome.
But I tell you one thing, I have, you know, we're able to keep a big chunk of the equity.
That's awesome.
A big chunk of the equity. I'm talking a big chunk of the equity. Because when we started, it was, you know, bootstrap.
Yeah, right. So going through the bootstrap, was there a point where it was like, wow, this has got to happen? It sounded like with bringing in that insurance company, I think that may have been that partner might be at that moment. But was there a moment, looking back, that said, if this didn't work, we were done?
Well, yeah, that insurance company a year and a half later pulled their contract.
Oh man!
And so I'm like, what are we doing? So I'm in a room one day. I get an email from a Nicole. Her name was Nicole. She says, "Here's what we're at." I said, "Nicole, you can't do this to me right now. We're in a bad place. We need this contract." But then I approached AIG. My relationship with AIG was improving. AIG came in, and there was a 60-day period where no one at that time knew what was really taking place. We had nothing to sell.
Wow.
So we're trying to keep our full-time sales guys who are running their own offices. They have their own $6,000 rent they're paying, $3,000 rent they're paying. And AIG doesn't want to advance. These other guys don't want to advance. I'm going through this whole mess. Finally, a guy named Greg, working with a Durr and a Rop. I got to give these guys credit. They helped really, you know, they were instrumental in putting this deal together. Then AIG stayed with us from there till today. We became the top writer for AIG around the world, around the States, for their Index Universal Life product for I think 4 years straight. And it was a good experience. And then now we got, you know, you name a carrier, we pretty much have those relationships nationwide, Foresters, Allianz, you know, many different carriers that we do business with now.
Well, and I don't know if you agree, but from the interviews and a lot of the market managers I talk to, almost that point, that make and break point, makes them change or adapt and changes the business in a very good way, right? Either you have to evolve to where you really need to be, or you don't evolve and you go out of business. I mean, was that your experience?
Yeah, so you got to understand, I'm not just starting a business. I had just gotten married 3 months prior to that.
Yeah.
So I'm starting a business. It's my first marriage. I know how to handle myself. Now I have another emotional creature that I'm married to who has their own dealings, who's having miscarriages, and she wants to have a baby, and we can't have a baby because of the stress level that we have. And one night I come home, and she's on the bed, she's crying, she's in tears, and what's going on, babe? Hey, we lost the baby, okay? And I'm like, I have no idea who to call. If I call my dad says, I told you shouldn't have never started the business because the pressure was this. If I call my friends, I told you this isn't something, you had an incredible life. Why did you leave? Why did you do this? So there wasn't anybody else, even an out, there was no release on somebody to talk to. And so at that time, you know, it was a time to really buckle down and focus and have faith in the process and the possibilities. And I told myself one thing. No one can stop, everybody can stop you with, you know, lawsuits. They can try to stop you with whatever they're trying to do. There's one thing they cannot stop you in America from doing, and that's working and improving. And I told myself, I said, I am not gonna let anyone outwork me, out-improve me, outlast me. I'm gonna go.
That's awesome.
And that became the level of confidence to know that we're gonna do our part. And the next thing you know, 1 week and 1 day, we got $100,000 check, and that started a whole thing.
Yeah, that's great.
And by the way, $100,000 may not be a big deal, not to the company, but $100,000 the first time when the company gets it, that was a massive deal for us in 2011, 2010. That changed the game for us with the business.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, going from PHP Agency, what made you start Valuetainment? Because that's another market invention by itself.
So Valuetainment, so you have a lot of people online right now that say, well, you know, I have a free webinar, and then from there, buy this package. Normally this is valued at $49.95, but I'm doing it for $3.95 today in the next 2 hours.
Right.
Great marketing, you're supposed to do that. It's great, it's effective. A lot of money is being made that way. But I looked at it in a complete different way, and I said, look, I grew up in a place, Iran. You can call it dictatorship. It was definitely not a democracy when we were there. And then I go to Germany, we come here, and you know, America's got 41 million immigrants because they offer this system called capitalism, which now there was a war going on between the economical system, communism, and capitalism. And some countries said, oh, we're going to go to communism because it's better. And America said, no, we're sticking to capitalism. And there was this war, right, between, you know, a wealth of nations, Adam Smith versus Karl Marx Communist Manifesto. And they were literally battling. Russia says, no, we don't believe in capitalism. It's greedy. We're going to go do this. Cuba and Venezuela, all these smaller countries, all these places in Yugoslavia, Albania, all these Czech, all these guys, we believe in Czech communism because it's this. So the battle happened, capitalism won. Right. Period. This heavyweight battle, capitalism won. It was very obvious. Now everybody is converting into capitalism. So Valuetainment, I looked at it, I said, listen, there's so many people around the world that don't really understand entrepreneurship, and today, any country that has YouTube available to them and Facebook available to them, I want them to learn what it is to start a business. Except we're not going to say, and course for $9.95, a $4.95. Not right now. I wanted the basic fundamentals to be out. Later on, we may have a university. We may have a Valuetainment university that gets started, but not right now. We have 550 videos online, over 200 million minutes watched online, and we never expected this to be this big. Initially, it was just pure value to bring to our agents to hear videos on sales, on developing businesses, developing leaders, and the next thing you know, the audience got bigger and bigger and bigger. And today, if you go on YouTube and you type in the word entrepreneur, I think, you know, half the videos will be us.
And approaching 400,000 subscribers also, right? Which is
it's crazy. I was telling Matt yesterday, Matt's like, Pat, man, I feel like I'm behind. I got 2,000 subscribers. I said, buddy, it took us 2.5 years to get to 2,000 subscribers. I said, you're doing okay, man. You got 2,000 subscribers. You're way ahead of us. So
that's awesome. So we covered Valuetainment, covered you know, PHP Agency. Going through this process, and there's a lot more to go. What's some advice you had for your younger self in the early days?
Stay the course. Don't overthink. And that's pretty much what it is. Stay the course, don't overthink. I really trust the process. Like, I really trust the process. I remember one time a creditor called me. I was in debt $49,000, and I stopped paying all my credit cards. Okay. So this is 2003, okay? And it's so funny because my Uber driver was a former guy with MBNA. Right down the street, there was MBNA here, and my biggest credit card was with MBNA. I said, listen, you should know my name because I had $10,000 of debt with you guys that I couldn't pay for a while. And so one day, I'm in debt, and I'm getting these calls left and right. I mean, if you would have came to my house, my apartment, the phone would ring off. Everybody thought I was so popular because everyone kept calling me. None of them are my friends. They're 800 numbers, 888.
Yeah, popular with the wrong people.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so one day, I just realized I'm gonna work hard, I'm gonna improve, and I'm gonna trust the process. And so this creditor calls me one day and he says, look, when are you going to pay this up? I said, look, you got to stop calling me. I promise you. I said, the more you call me, the less time you're giving me to sell to pay you back. I'm going to pay you back. Just don't bother me. Leave me alone. I paid them back. I paid everything back. I didn't file a bankruptcy. I pay my debt back, and credit score today is 800 plus. But the point I would make to the younger self is, don't overthink. If you're doing your part, you're working very, very hard. I'm not talking 60 hours a week. You got to do your 80 to 100 hour a week for several years, and you're constantly curious about learning and improving, and you're learning how to outlast. You don't get tired early. You do 6 days, your competition does 5. Maybe you do 6.5 days of work for a good period, and then you learn the last step, which is out strategize. I don't think you learn strategy early on. I think the first thing you learn is outwork. Then you learn how to out improve, because you have to learn how to improve your certain skill sets. You have to identify which skill sets you're one thing to put the most value into to improve. You're not wasting your time learning a skill set that's a $22 skill set per hour. This is a $300 per hour skill set. You're figuring those things out, then outlasting. How can I go longer? That guy's going home already. I'm staying till 10 at night. And then a strategy. That guy's going to have his own strategy. You don't initially know what strategy is going to be effective, but eventually, after a lot of mistakes, as long as you learn the outwork part, the out improve part, the outlast part, the out strategy comes next, you'll have a good shot at it. So it would be just to trust the process.
And holding that vision, right? Having that point of view, knowing that the direction of getting there is a zigzag. It's not linear.
Yeah. Listen,
right?
No one really knows what my vision is long term. No one really knows it. It'll soon be pretty clear and evident when in the next 3 to 5 years on what's going to happen and what we'll talk about. But in my mind, it became crystal clear March of '09 on what I wanted to do. It became my initial goal was, money. I wanted to be free. I wanted to have finances so I can make decisions and do the things I wanted to do. But then there was a bigger cause. You can have the cars and the Ferraris and the Lambos and the Rolls and the big homes, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like that stuff as well. But the bigger cause is all these history books. This is what's exciting, to be able to do something that outlasts your lifetime, where generationally they read about it.
What's next for Valuetainment, Patrick Bet David, and PHP Agency? Like, you're doing a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff very well. So what's next for the next couple months, year?
Yeah, so I'm still going to be in the insurance business for the next few years. I will be in the insurance business for the next few years. But at the same time, the next move will be solving for X to realize what's the best formula for us to spread the spirit of capitalism to everybody around the world and create some of the best innovators. It'll be around leadership development, it'll be around education, it'll be around capitalism and entrepreneurship. That's what's going to be. I'll be doing that till the day I die.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else to add? I mean, we covered a lot.
No, I think you've asked some good questions. So no, I would say that would be it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
And thanks everyone for watching Market Inventors. Patrick Bet David, this guy is amazing. And if you're not watching Valuetainment, you should be watching Valuetainment. There's a ton of great content, and it's a great business. Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. We have a lot to cover on Market Invention and Market Inventors. If there is a Market Inventor you'd like me to interview, please drop me a line, let me know, and keep watching. Thanks again, everyone.